Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us, and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night.
And that being said, I ran into a couple of friends this afternoon, and we were talking about this, and they hear differently. They're sisters, and one hears high notes, the other hears low notes, and it's vice versa for them. So we all hear differently, and the audio, even the same clip and various clips, I like to play with different speakers, like alone in my car, surrounded by the sounds. Different speakers reveal different sounds.
Yes,
One of the clips that I sent you, I think it's a 19-second clip, and you could insert that shortly here. In the background, it's at the 3-minute, 30-second mark of the 10 minutes of the encounter audio that I have published. I think both of them are titled In Their Midst. One is In Their Midst, 10 minutes uninterrupted. The other is In Their Midst, Warning High Strangeness, not for the faint of heart. But in the second one, the faint of heart reference, at 3 minutes, 30 seconds, you can hear this expression. It's ebenopsy, ooh ha ha. It's in the background, and I loop it on the clip that I sent you, but it's ebenopsy, ooh ah ah. So you can imagine, I mean, it sounds like a bigger, older male subject in the background, but to the listeners, if you go there and want to listen to it, you can hear all sorts of really crazy, strange stuff. They have a clicky, clucky, melodic, clicky, clucky vocal modality. It's just bizarre. But they also speak conventionally. Which is, you'll hear weird things like the ebenopsy, ooh ha ha. But later in that, you hear the achichichuha, you hear hejilawa, you hear an expression, a gremlinish voice saying, are you wreaking havoc, in that cadence. Moments after that, you hear the same voice, gremlinish sounding voice, saying, havoc, hate this man tomorrow. It sounds exactly like that. So what are we dealing with here? I have no idea. People say the veil is thinning, and my mind is racing. And is it thinning to the extent that are these other dimensional creations? A lot of people believe they are. Even Davy Crockett wrote to his brother-in-law after he had an experience in a Texas thicket, saying this is what happened. It appeared as if, from nowhere, and then it dissipated as if, like the fog off a frog pond in the morning. That's not verbatim, but that's essentially the spirit of what he was trying to convey. So, Daniel Boone claims to have shot one.
Yeah, he shot a Yahoo, right?
Yeah, that's right. 10 foot tall.
Big Boone fan too,
Yeah. So, it's a mystery. But the parallels between this boyhood sense of adventure and pursuit of the unknown, paired with my biblical studies, I'm really thinking there's a very strong connection here, and that the Old Testament, written 6,500 years ago ish.
Yeah.
I'm no biblical expert, but the Old Testament refers to giants. And,
well, let's dig into that. Let's dig into that. There is definitely a connection. Where do you see Bigfoot lineage in the Old Testament? Because I've heard it from giants, from Nephilim, from the offspring of the Nephilim, on down the line.
Yes,
which
Gen 6, 1 through 4.
Right. I'm ADD too, so here it goes.
Oh, hey, we get along just fine.
Yeah, I have a trilogy of videos, of episodes. Some of them are on YouTube, I think, maybe, but most of it's just audio on podcast. Called the Eliud. this lady in Pennsylvania, this is just real quick, then we'll get right back to it because it ties in. This lady in Pennsylvania told me that she was visited. She had a sighting of a Bigfoot creature in the wood line of her home. She had orbs that she saw, and then there was the telepathy or the mind speak that some people call it that she had with this creature. She nicknamed him Harry. It's common, I guess. But and I know Denise is going to listen to this because she loves Bigfoot. So I just want to make sure I'm telling her story right. They formed a relationship, okay, like a platonic relationship. They're friends. Harry would talk to her. Harry would leave gifts. She'd leave gifts for him. He'd return them. Then he opened up and told her, and she was not into biblical study at all. Okay, this lady, I don't think she could care less at the time. He told her that he was an Eliud. And when she told me this initially, she wasn't even sure on the pronunciation. She thinks it was something like that, Elude or something. So we looked it up. There's only a couple of references at all to an Eliud. And what it turns out to be, I talked to Gary Wayne about it. I don't know if you know Gary Wayne from Genesis 6 Conspiracy, the author. I had him on, and we discussed that this Eliud is the offspring of a Nephilim. So it's second gen from the fallen.
Okay.
And it goes on to disclose to Denise a different history, things that she needs to look into as far as biblical history. It wanted her to look at a different set of books, a different path. And then later on, towards the end of the trilogy here of episodes, Harry said that he was seeking his own redemption. Now, what is that?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So I think there's a real strong connection. I mean, this could be a one-off. This could be some demonic entity that manifested as this creature to lower her guard, whatever.
We don't know.
But there is a definite connection here. I've heard that the offspring of the Nephilim. I've heard maybe Esau, the Canaanites. I've heard the descendants of Cain, that he was marked with this. This is his new tribe or whatever. So where do you land biblically?
Well, let's go back to the references. Numbers 13:30 talks about Joshua and Caleb going to, and they were told not to fear, but they did anyway. But they reported back and thought they could be defeated.
Right.
Deuteronomy 2nd chapter verse 20 speaks of a people called the Zamzummim.
Yes.
They are great in stature and they are numerous. Okay. Zamzummim, if you look at the origin of their name, the Hebrew word, ancient Hebrew word is zimzum. It's an onomatopoeia to buzz or to hum. So I'm wondering, because I have a lot of audio that is of a buzzing and humming nature audibly, and during my encounter, that raspy,
Yes.
on my eardrums. And occasionally I could sense percussions in the wind. I even say that during the 10 minutes audio that I published. It was after the encounter, but I'm talking about my theory that they have an ability to speak within the din of the rain or within the din of the wind, or even the wind, I said. And I believe they have that ability only because I was there for 10 minutes. I only audibly heard some of that, 15, 20 seconds of it, maybe. I felt other incidences where I now believe that my current thing is they were actually speaking, and I was just detecting that. But this is the harmonic resonance vocal modality that they have an ability to do. So if they have an ability to speak in these ways, to speak within the din of the rain and the wind, and to appear and disappear, I've not experienced that. I've never seen orbs, but I don't doubt that they they're a real phenomenon. Um, but so, could these creations be the Zamzooming? Then if you want to get a little deeper down the wonder, the pondering here, you can look at Psalm 82, and that refers to God's divine counsel, and that
Yes.
they are mortal, right? They are
Yes.
mortal.
It will die like man.
Now I've recorded these creations chanting, and it sounds beautiful, and it's mind blowing. It's on my YouTube channel. It's out there. Anybody can listen to it. I think chanting, and then I said sacred space, question mark. Is it a sacred space where I am recording is what I meant by that.
Yes.
But, chanting, and it's beautiful, and they sound like Benedictine monks. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I've heard other examples of chanting. I just haven't published those because they're a little more difficult to detect or to hear. But and I have one saying I had an ascension, and another voice shortly after that sounds like Kumbaya. And that's in Voices from the Depths of the Woods. It's 4 minutes of vocal captures that I got at a teepee structure where I often record up in northern Michigan. So I don't know, man. It's a big mystery. I've learned, having gone through from my atheist to a full-on believer in this God phenomenon. It's very real. I've
Yes.
even witnessed things, not even in the woods, in a Catholic church. I witnessed a play of light that was
Yes.
beautiful, and could only mean that you know, it was it was a unique story, and I'll tell it here because the audience, I think, are primed for it already.
Absolutely.
I got a call. It was like a Tuesday morning. Probably Thursday, our buddy Chuck's father had passed away. So my buddy Jeff, who I saw today, as a matter of fact, called me and said, come out. And so I did. And I got there a little late, and Jeff was in the back. He probably got there late as well. But we're in the background. I'm seeing this play of light. The priest is doing it. He has the incense going. He's doing this ritual mantra. He was born, he is risen, he will come again. Uh, Something like that. And again, I'm not a biblical scholar, and this seemed to be a pretty orthodox church. But Chuck's father was a very enthusiastic Catholic all his life, choir boy,
Oh yeah.
all through his life, and it was as if, knowing that, trying to wonder and ponder what this light phenomenon that I witnessed was all about. It was as if that Jesus was there to welcome Chuck's father into the kingdom of heaven. Personally greeting him. It had that kind of power. Now, what I saw was, when the priest was doing this, ritual, I saw his shadow on the back wall, which is 15, 20 feet beyond him. And that's all I, thought it was, until it got larger and smaller. And I'm a photographic artist. That just caught my attention, and I'm wondering what the heck's going on here. That shadow went away, and there's no light source for the shadow. It's just weird. There was a shadow projected by what light? I have no idea. So moments passed, and it came back, and the shadow had the same affect, but a little more dynamic than it did before, and it got larger then smaller, but then it went to the left and to the right, and again, there's no light source that would create that. And as a photographic artist, I would think I would have to recreate this whole phenomenon. How would I do that?
Right.
Well, the second time it went away, then it came back a third time, and it not only got larger and smaller, it not only went left and right, it had like an exuberant energy about it. This is why I'm led to believe that perhaps it was Spirit of Jesus, there to welcome Chuck's dad into the kingdom of heaven. It was just I was dumbfounded. I wasn't like, oh my God, do you see this? What's going on here? I pondered on that for a week, and it was just a really amazing phenomenon to have witnessed. And I'm checking my eyes. I'm looking around. I'm looking for a light source. There's nothing there.
Yes.
And I sat on it for a week or two, and I'm thinking, in order for me to recreate that dynamic, just in motion alone, the light source would have to be where Chuck's father's casket was. And the light source would have had to be moving to and from the altar to get the larger and smaller effect. And to the left and to the right, and brother Bo, that path forms the shape of a cross.
Oh,
to
wow.
recreate that light,
Yes.
phenomenon. It was, having put all that together, and maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but it was beautiful. And to
That's
realize that there are other dimensions, there are other planes of existence. Our reward is eternal life,
amen.
uh, made possible by Jesus and God Almighty. So, um, I do pray what I'm doing brings glory to His name, and like I said earlier, gets young men out of their basements, off their game consoles, embracing this gift of life that surrounds us all the time,
Yes.
and this gift of awe and wonder that's out there. So this Bigfoot thing, yeah, it's real, but this God thing too. Jeremiah 33:3 states, "Call to me, and I will answer, and tell you great and hidden things that you have not known." And that's a beautiful thing, and that's something that reminds me, well, that gives me assurance in doing what I'm doing, because it's not for your everyday Joe Sixpack to go and chase
Right.
monsters in the woods. you know but it's fun. I've never had greater, um I don't know, sense of adventure in my life. It's just a wonderful adventure, that's all.
Thank the Lord. And
Yes,
look,
indeed.
um, I'm what you hit on something when you said Psalm 82 and in the divine council. Um, at the time we're recording this is the last day of July. In a week, I'm going to be, well, actually, this Thursday coming, I'm going to be teaching at our church, and I'm very blessed to have a pastor that reads from the whole Bible. Okay, we
Good.
don't really hold back, and my lesson this week is going to be on principalities and powers. What are they? And I get into Psalm 82, and I talk about the heavenly host, and how the principalities have the dominion and scattered
Mhm,
out.
mhm.
But in October, I have there's a conference coming. It's not too far from where you're at. It's in Ada, Ohio, at I
Ada,
think at Northern Ohio University.
75. I know there's an Ada exit. No kidding.
Yep,
Ohio Northern.
October, yeah, October
Ohio
6th,
Northern.
7th, and 8th. It's called Fortean Airwaves. And there's about 6 of us podcasters. They've asked to come up there to be on a panel. And we're just going to spend the whole weekend up there. There's a cash bar if anybody's interested in having a couple of drinks Saturday night.
Sure.
But they asked me to speak. They asked each of us to speak. And they asked what my topic was going to be about. And I hadn't disclosed it to anybody. But my topic was going to be the link between cryptids and these principalities. And it is so wonderful that it's like you're on the same thought process that I am.
Yeah, and I've only gotten there through my own observations.
Yes,
That's it. It's just the road. I'm led to believe these things based on what I know.
exactly. And mine's just through research and praying, and just seeking the Lord. This Jeremiah 33:3 is perfect. That you know these little g gods were worshipped. The fallen, they were worshipped in the pantheon of Greece and Rome. Um, the Norse gods, they're all the same gang, different names, different time periods, same gods, same lower G's.
Yeah, yeah, lower
I,
G.
I see this over here in Native American culture. That there could very easily be the deities here being, you know, glorified, being worshipped.
Could be.
Here in West Virginia, I don't know. Have you heard of the Mothman?
Yes.
Okay, the Mothman. There are depictions of the Birdman in Shawnee lore. So the natives that lived here, 500
Huh.
years ago, 1,000 years ago, they had a deity of this Birdman figure that looks a lot like the description of this Mothman
Yeah.
entity. And I'm seeing a correlation here also with the ancient Sumerian depiction of Lilith, just the body structure and the owl effigies and all this stuff, it all seems to blend together. And I see Bigfoot or Sasquatch fits in there nicely.
Good. And there are reliefs in Great Britain, Northern England, maybe Ireland or Scotland. I don't know. I'm not clear on this, but there are reliefs of Sasquatch-like figures
Yes.
in and mixing and interacting with the people.
Yeah,
Christians.
and right along with the Green Man and stuff like that.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's like the old man of the woods, basically.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, I definitely see that there is a I don't know if, I guess you could say, a biblical connection or a spiritual connection to these creatures. Some people say that they are the Nephilim. I don't know about that.
I'm with you on not knowing about that.
It may very well be, because they were on the earth in those days and after, is what I said.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you've heard about the giant of Kandahar, and we know, of course, about Goliath and Gilgamesh. They were known to be giants.
Yes.
So my thinking currently is that they perhaps were Nephilim. Now, the Psalm 82 and the Divine Council, they're not Nephilim. I mean, they are, in a way, the giants. The Nephilim directly translated from Greeks, I think, means simply giant. But the unholy offspring of a giant and the daughters of men, I understand, could they be the giants?
Right. Could be.
We don't know how long these creations exist or live, what their longevity is. I suspect it's very, very long.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they have this physical prowess and capabilities that, if this evolution theory is correct, personally, I'm inclined otherwise to believe. I think the very existence, I told you, it affirms the biblical narratives about these, also, I have to say that, where was I going? ADD. I forget the point I was going to make. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Not at that moment.
I think I shared it with you because I had one too.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. I did have a question. Yes, tribal. Do you think that these are in tribes, or do you think that they just live in like small family units that they're just nomadic? Like,
touch on a few things there. I do believe they are probably regionally nomadic. I know they have a social structure. I believe the wallows, where I've had wonderful success in finding and recording, nocturnal vocals, suggests to me and supports the thought that they do have a very sophisticated structure. The women and children will stay in these wallows at night. The men are dispersed and out and either, keeping watch or hunting, bringing food. I have one night, I think it was January 15th, 2020. Was it 2020 or 2000? No, it was 2019. A subject comes in, you hear it moving, and he vocalizes coon's meat. You can actually hear that. And I know that there's a juvenile and a female subject there. I know that because the recording that evening starts out with snoring, which was the juvenile. I suspected there was juvenile because I detected activity that suggested a juvenile's presence, like play activity. So it starts out snoring. Later on, I got the mom coughing 3 times. 2 times are 19 seconds apart, and it sounds 100% human.
Wow.
But they're not, because their later interactions and other audio captured on the same footage are these, bizarre creations. But yeah, one comes in and says coon's meat. And it's pretty interesting. So I think it was just feeding, the progenitors or the vessels of their ability to survive as a species.
Yeah.
But there's, they're still around. I think that, Occam's razor, all that I know at this point, my current thinking is that the simplest explanation is they're just the very giants that the Old Testament speaks of. Which ones? Don't know. Don't
Right.
know. That I'm not sure we'll ever know.